Everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I got something a little different from the past few videos. I'm going to take today off from the tier list, and I want to go over some actual MMA drama. We're starting to get back to business as usual. Fight cards are coming back on. Strickland's fighting at the end of the month. And we got some beef between O'Malley and Ilia Topuria. Now, a lot of people are just looking at this like a surface level, like it's just fighters disputing. But I actually think this is pretty interesting. So, this all starts. O'Malley says something as little as, Ilia's my Eddie. This is pretty interesting, because what he's alluding to is he believes Ilia Topuria, either he beats Volkanovski, or Ilia will become champion at one day. Ilia's very young. I believe Ilia will become a featherweight champion at some point in his career, whether he beats Volkanovski or not. He will outlast Max Holloway, and he's going to outlast Volkanovski. That's just a fact. Like, get used to Ilia, because I think we're going to see Ilia for quite a bit. And Volkanovski is 35 years old. The only person at 170 and below that's ever won a championship fight is Tyron Woodley, and he won 2. Everybody else has lost a fight at 35 and above. So all I'm saying is if the odds are like 2-1 Volkanovski, I'm going to be putting some money on Ilia Topuria. So, Zone O'Malley says, Ilia's my Eddie, saying that I'm Conor McGregor, you're going to be my Eddie Alvarez. Interesting idea. Ilia Topuria says, I offered to fight you, but the UFC told me that you're only good for fighting in teenager places, because that's your only fan base. Our fight will never happen. After fighting Volk, I will fight Conor. And you will come as a fanboy after seeing your pay-per-view numbers. The only fight I will offer you is on my preliminaries. Okay, Ilia's feeling himself just a little bit too much. Let's be real. O'Malley outsells Ilia easily. The only reason that Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria would sell more than O'Malley versus Cheeto, which I don't believe it does, frankly, is if Volkanovski brings those pay-per-view numbers. And I don't think he does outsell Sean O'Malley. Like, clown O'Malley all you want, he does bring decent pay-per-views. And I think he is going to bring even more pay-per-views against Cheeto. Because that's the whole reason they're making this fight and not against a Corey Sandhagen or a Merab Dvalishvili. And then O'Malley responds with teenager places, no understando. Which is a fair thing to say. I have no clue what he meant by that. I assume he's saying that most of your fan base aren't adults, which isn't wrong, but I don't understand what he meant by teenager places. And second, let's make a pay-per-view numbers bet. 100K to whoever's pay-per-view is bigger. If you don't have 100K, that's fine. We can do 4 payments of 25K. And third, Conor doesn't know who you are. Listen, O'Malley bodied Ilia Topuria here. Now let's talk about this matchup, though. I like it. I do like this. I know that sounds like a crazy double standard, because Volkanovski had to dominate his division before he went up for a double champion fight. Alex Pereira only got to go up after he lost the belt at middleweight. But I'm telling you this right now, I understand that it's a crazy double standard. The UFC would make that fight. They would definitely make the fight if Merab ends up beating Cejudo, because they do not want Merab to potentially become champion. I think O'Malley could beat Merab Dvalishvili, but if it's up to them, they would much rather force an interim between the winner of Corey Sandhagen and Umar Nurmagomedov and the winner of Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. And the winner of that fight, of that interim title fight at that point, gets to fight O'Malley when he comes back. In that time, let's assume O'Malley beats Cheeto. I think he does beat Cheeto. I think it's going to be a unanimous decision. I don't think he finishes Cheeto Vera. And I don't think the fight's going to be wildly exciting. I think you're going to see some cool exchanges. I think Cheeto's going to land something in the 5th round. But I think O'Malley's just going to outpoint him to death. And let's say O'Malley wins. O'Malley said that he would like to fight on the same card as Conor McGregor. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to be able to make that turnaround, especially after 5 rounds, and I think he does get hit. So let's say we make that fight in October through December. We can do that. Ilia Topuria somehow gets the win against Volkanovski. Ilia Topuria versus Volkanovski is 1 month before Sean O'Malley is fighting Cheeto. So let's say Ilia beats Volkanovski. Sean O'Malley, instead of calling out the next contender, those fights would have already have happened. He goes on the mic and calls out Ilia Topuria for a championship fight, double champion. He says, I'll give you your biggest payday of your entire career, but if I win, I get the belt. That's how you could promote that fight. I know he's not a very charismatic guy, but just practice your lines, you'll get the fight. The UFC will back you in this. And you make that fight around November, December. And I'll talk about Conor later, but Conor's second fight back after the Michael Chandler fight, whether it's going to be at 185, 155, one of those, let's say Conor wins that, you make the next fight, Conor McGregor versus somebody on the same card as O'Malley versus Ilia Topuria. That's a spectacular card. If you put O'Malley, who is now O'Malley, who's defended the belt, going up to have a double champion fight against Ilia Topuria, who is coming off a win against arguably the best featherweight to ever live, that card does numbers alone. And if you slide Conor on there against somebody like a Charles, or really anybody, that card does amazing. That would be the biggest card of 2024, outselling UFC 300, in my opinion. Now let's talk about Conor McGregor here. What do I think's going to happen with Conor? Why is this at 185? So let's assume this is at 185 for a second. Let's assume that he's 100% serious. Dana White's on board. This is what we're doing. International Fight Week, June. I do not like this either way, because this is purely a legacy and ego thing, and I understand why it's a legacy thing, because if you've made as much money as Conor has made in this business, it becomes, you no longer care about the money. It's all about legacy. Conor might be looking at this as, I don't want to have too many more fights. I might not be able to win the belt. I don't want to risk losing a belt. So what's something that I can be the first in doing? I'm going to get 4 finishes in 4 different divisions. That you can do. He has featherweight, he has lightweight, he has welterweight, and he wants to do it at middleweight. 4 different finishes in 4 different divisions. No other fighter's ever been able to do it. Jared Cannonier has 3 different finishes at 3 different divisions, and if I remember correctly, so does Anthony Johnson. I think that may be the reason. That's a purely legacy thing. The reason that I'm not a fan of it is because even if you're Conor McGregor, how do you what's the next fight? Dana will say, I never make fights the day of a fight card, because then things can get messy. He says that at every press conference. That's not true. For Conor, he is making a fight before a fight even happens. There is 100% phone calls that are being made, DMs that are being sent, and meetings that are being held for Dana White coming up with a few candidates to fight Conor McGregor after the Michael Chandler fight. He probably has a candidate for if Conor loses and if Conor wins. The biggest reason that I liked Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor at 155 is purely because the whole reason that Michael Chandler is ranked to begin with is because you can justify throwing Conor into an immediate title shot or an interim title shot because he beat a top 5 fighter in the lightweight division. And then you just book everybody else up. That's what the UFC is doing at bantamweight right now. They've booked up Merab, they booked up Cejudo, Corey, Umar Nurmagomedov. The only person that was open was Cheeto. That's how they justified making Cheeto against O'Malley. Even though he didn't deserve it, he beat a Pedro Munoz. They will do the same at lightweight. They will book up a Charles. They will book up an Arman, Dustin, Justin Gaethje, Beneil. They'll book up everybody who has a case to be made for fighting for the title, purely just to throw Conor into a title shot. What my thought always was is if Conor beats Michael Chandler, you throw him into an interim title shot against Charles Oliveira. You let Islam Makhachev go up to welterweight, purely because not just to do him a favor, but to give him something to do. And you can make it so Conor McGregor fights Charles, and if he wins that, he gets an interim. It does not matter whether it's an undisputed or an interim belt. Conor McGregor, if he ever gets a belt again at any point in his career, that'll be the biggest moment in MMA up to that point. But, like, honestly, that'll be the most clipped moment in MMA for the entire year. It will. And Conor McGregor versus Charles Oliveira does sell exceedingly well, especially if you put that in the same card as O'Malley versus Ilia Topuria. Put that as, I mean, O'Malley has said that he would give up the main event spot to Conor multiple times. He offered to give up his main event spot against Cheeto for Conor McGregor to fight Michael Chandler. A little bit of a beta move, 100%. But I understand what he's saying. I guarantee you O'Malley has a crazy pay-per-view share that he's entitled to. And he doesn't care whether he's in the main event or co-main. He is going to be getting paid. O'Malley used to always fight on the Conor cards. When Conor fought Dustin the second time and fought him the third time, O'Malley was on both of those cards. Because he understands that he wants to be a part of that pay-per-view share. And O'Malley, I think, would give that up again. Now, if Conor's at 185, let's say this. Say Conor says we're going to be doing this at 185. 8 weeks out, 6 weeks out, he says, you know what? I've changed my mind. We're going to be doing this at 155 pounds. Who does that hurt more? Conor, who I guarantee you if this does happen, was planning on doing this all along, which the UFC would allow him to do. Just change the weight right before the fight. Or Michael Chandler, who's 190 pounds in the offseason. This hurts Michael Chandler exponentially more. Imagine this. Michael Chandler at that point would have gone 2 years without fighting in the octagon. We're already dealing with ring rust. Michael Chandler is getting up there in age. I understand so is Conor, and Conor's also dealing with ring rust. But now, they're both getting older. They're both suffering from ring rust. But Conor, knowing that we were going to do this at 155 all along, and Michael Chandler's been training for 185, not expecting to cut the weight. He's only been expecting to cut around 10 pounds. And he flips the script on him right when the training camp begins. Says, you know what? We're going to make 155. Chandler will do everything in his power to make weight, because if he doesn't, that is the fumble of his paycheck right there. It is. And a short notice opponent probably would be a Charles Oliveira. And they know this. Chandler doesn't want to miss out on his money fight opportunity. So he'll sew up compromised because of the weight cut. It's going to be a bad weight cut because you need time to plan a 40-pound cut. And if he does sew up, chin's already compromised. He gets knocked down in every single fight. Tony Ferguson knocked him down. Conor McGregor does have the power to put down Michael Chandler. That's the last thing that leaves you. The timing will leave you. The speed will leave you. The technique and the power, that's the last thing to stay. And at the end of the day, that's what he will need to beat Michael Chandler. So you have crippled Michael Chandler preparing for this fight. 155 makes exponentially more sense outside of ego to make this at 185. Because if Conor does beat Michael Chandler at 155, you can justify a title. Islam used to want a Conor McGregor title shot because he knows there's money in that. I think that's not outside the realm of possibility. I hope that's what happens. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. And I think that's going to be it for the video. Put in the comment section other videos that you want me to do. I want to take a break from the tier list just because it's Saturday, but I'm going to bring out daily MMA content. That's what I promised you. You subscribe to me, you get daily MMA content. That's the deal that we have going on. And with that out of the way, adios, guys.